All right. So it is November 2nd at 5:34 p.m. We are the Waldoboro Communications and Technology Committee. I'm Ruben Mahar. I know I don't have video, so I will do my best to announce myself when I have a question or a comment. Looking at this, looks like we need to establish a quorum, and it appears that I and Richard Hofsis and Robert Butler are present. We agree on that point?
Yes.
Excellent. I don't have the agenda in front of me. Richard, if you wouldn't mind keeping me honest as close as we can. I know we had a few items on there. If it's all right with everyone, I wanted to go right ahead and start up with First Light, since they've been kind enough to take their time this evening to meet with us.
Yes, under our new business. Yep, presentation for First Light.
Yep.
All right. Okay, great. As long as that's okay with everyone, I guess, CJ, I'll hand it over to you and to Sean, and we're very happy to meet you.
Nice
Great to meet you guys. Thanks for having us on board. We appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is Sean. Happy to be here. And did you want me to take the mic for now and just kind of give a little introduction?
Go right ahead.
All right. So First Light, we're not your traditional ISP. We are more of a technology company, an IT company with tons of fiber assets. So I know the priority here was to discuss fiber, and that's what we're here for. We do have fiber going down Route 1 in Waldoboro and in several other areas in Maine, from, all the way from southern Maine to Fort Kent, Madawaska, and way up north. So we kind of work on a case-by-case basis. If you want fiber, get us the locations, and we'll qualify it as we go. If the buildings are already lit with fiber, it's an easy approval and order. If there's fiber that needs to be built out, CJ and I need to work together and submit what we call a business case to the First Light executive team for review/approval. So we work based on margins, and if the company thinks basically the services that are needed, if what those services cost on a monthly basis justify the build out, we'll do it. So in a nutshell, that's how it works. And we are more so a commercial. We work with businesses, but we have started doing fiber to the homes. And if we are talking fiber to the home, CJ and I help handle the fat internet pipe per se, and then we hand you off to our carrier group, which is also First Light, a different segment, and they would help you with the fiber to the home piece of it. So that's very high level, and I'll let CJ say a few words, and we'll go.
Sure.
We can go from there.
So again, thank you. Really appreciate you guys for allowing us to join this meeting. My name is CJ Knight. I am a sales engineer with First Light. I've been with First Light for a little bit over 3.5 years, and most of my background is in high-end telecommunications, voice servers, voice over IP, that kind of stuff. One of the things that First Light has started to do, as Sean mentioned, we're primarily, we just provide services to businesses. But we realize, and we've seen a large demand. We keep getting approached by municipalities, especially, that they want to bring fiber into a large segment of the town. And we've had to turn a lot of this business away, but finally the higher ups have realized that there's a piece of the pie that we can grab onto here. So the way the model works, and we've done this a few times with some other entities, where say the town of Waldoboro becomes a mini ISP. You guys become your own internet service provider. So what we would do is we would provide a nice big fat internet pipe at, say, we call it an A location. Some municipalities like to do it at a police department, or maybe at a high school, someplace centrally located where you're not too far off of our fiber. And then from there, from that A location, First Light then would pull the fiber to like a residential neighborhood, we'll say, and drop the fiber into all the homes. And like Sean mentioned, we have a carrier relations team that we work with, and they kind of handle the home end. They work with the municipality to handle the home ends, you know, to get the fiber in, to get the necessary equipment into the home. It's not, you know, traditionally called the modem anymore. It's something else, but it's basically the equivalent. And then the municipality will distribute that large internet pipe from the A location using, you know, equipment like switches and routers, that kind of thing. And we understand that a lot of municipalities don't have networking engineers at their disposal. So if you need us to play a role in that also, kind of like Sean mentioned, we have become a complete IT company. So all the way from the fiber out in the street to the networking equipment to do the distribution of the services. We can also do that. And we can also manage it for you guys. We have several different packages where, you know, one model might be that we come in and we set it all up at the A location and then turn it over to someone you would designate as a network administrator. And then FirstLight kind of gets out of the picture a little bit. Or if you don't have yourself a network administrator, we can manage the entire thing. We can be with you guys every step of the way, controlling that stuff. If you need a problem or another home comes online, you know, we jump in and we do the provisioning for that stuff. So we've got a couple of different models, you know, depending on how involved you guys want to be. And then, you know, we go from there. We have a model where, you know, typically what we like to see is a return on our investment, you know, mid-contract. So if we have a 3-year contract around, you know, 15, 17 months, we like to see our return on our investment. We don't typically come in and charge the municipality for the construction because it's pretty expensive. It costs FirstLight probably about, on average in Maine, about $33,000 a mile to pull fiber. And then depending on the entry into a home, you know, $2,000 to $5,000 usually to do that construction portion of it too. So we have a model where, you know, again, like halfway in between the contract somewhere, we like to be able to get a return on our investment through the services that we sell. And the more services that, you know, an entity purchases from us, it just makes it easier and we can build in further. So, you know, if you just need an internet pipe and then you're going to do all the equipment and, you know, all that stuff, then it's harder for us. You know, we wouldn't be able to build out a bigger footprint. But if you know, not only needed that big internet pipe at the A location, but then you also needed to lease some switching and routing gear, and you want a FirstLight to set it all up and maintain it, well, now we have a substantial list of services where, you know, we can get a return on investment, so we could build out a larger footprint. I think in one of the emails I sent, you know, just looking at the town from a high level, I'm not sure I'm going to pronounce this right, but the Meadowmack MH Park, it looks maybe like a trailer park that you have that was off of Kaler's Road, Kaler's Circle Street, I apologize.
Yeah, Meadowmack Home Park, Kaler's Corner, yep.
Yeah.
Behind Hannaford's.
You know, I don't know if there would be a big demand for internet there in the trailer park. You know, I bet they're pretty hungry for it, but it just sticks out as a good example because, you know, you're not really far off of our fiber footprint. I'm not sure what the building is that is right before the entrance at Meadowmack Road there. I don't see a sign out front or anything, but we have a lit building that is right before the entrance to that park. That sticks out as a great example for us because we're already really close to the area, and it's not a lot of, you know, distance for us to pull fiber before we can start hitting homes. And as far as a big, you know, a nice A location to drop a big fat internet pipe, I'm going to just go down to street level and see if I can see what this building is. If it's a, you know, a town-owned building, I mean, it looks like it could be a school or something.
So the right before Meadowmack Home Park should be the Miller School, which is an elementary school. There is also across the street from it. There used to be a place called Benny's. The building is still there. I don't know what interest the current owner wants with it. And then just up the road is the Hannaford, and it also starts opening up into a bunch of different commercial activity.
You know, and whereas you guys are the municipality and you already have a school as a lit building, this screams opportunity right here, because, you know, you could grab a small closet, you know, maybe there's already a computer room. Chances are nowadays there's already a computer room. And if there's enough room on a rack, you know, we wouldn't need very much space for the equipment that, you know, I'm referring to distribute service to a neighborhood. You know, that screams out as a great opportunity. You know, we bring in a couple more strands in there, a big fat internet pipe, and then First Light builds out. You know, we continue along down the street and then head into the trailer park there. If you guys think that that's a good market, that might be a good place to start. And zoom out a little bit here and kind of poke around and just.
So that's interesting. Our mandate on this group is really to get internet where it doesn't currently exist.
Okay.
I love the idea of getting fiber to a home where it doesn't exist. The last I knew, that park was served by cable. And while I understand that's not equal to the product you're rolling out, it does meet and exceed the minimum state requirements. I'm not dismissing that. I just want to sort of make it clear, you know, what this group does. I would be lying if I said I didn't find that whole thing to be super fascinating. There's a lot of things here that are worth review, but I feel like might go outside what this group could go. When I'm talking about, you know, getting a connection dropped into the PD or into the town office, I'm not dismissing that either, but we've got some questions to ask. That is a super interesting thing. Now, in terms of, if you did roll this out to a town, you know, it sounds like you've got some different services there. You know, right now, this town doesn't possess a major unified network that crosses the whole footprint. Everything is individual. I mean, do you guys do things like data center as a service, telecom as a service, so forth?
Absolutely.
We absolutely do. Yeah. One of our products is infrastructure as a service. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we can virtualize Windows Server, Linux servers. You know, we even have IBM high power servers that we can virtualize if, you know, that I don't see you guys needing something like that. Our cloud environment is made up of all of solid state drives, and our machines are built upon a stack, an array stack, basically. So you don't have like one virtual machine that can fail. The compute is spread across a whole rack of servers. So if one goes down, the resources can quickly shift over, and you know, it's a high availability solution. And because it's not spinning disk anymore, it's all solid state. The compute is incredibly fast. So if we can get those customers on the First Light network, that's really where the whole experience comes together, because, you know, we built our network to have the least amount of latency on the back end on the entire East Coast, and that's what we've achieved. We have the fastest network on the East Coast, and when it comes into our cloud, into a virtual environment, it's a great experience. It can be compared to, you know, working locally on a server. So it's been a very successful product for, you know, legacy Oxford networks and now First Light Fiber. So we most certainly can do that. Not only can we do a virtualized data center, which is what I would recommend for anybody, but we also have co-location products. So if the town had, say, you know, some old legacy servers that they wanted to keep running and then phase out as, you know, the hardware got too old, rather than purchase all brand new servers, you know, we could have a model where we're already kind of backing up an existing physical server into our cloud, and there's a copy of it that's virtualized, kind of sitting, waiting, ready to go. So when that old legacy hardware fails, you've got the virtual one ready to spin up.
Okay, great.
So that's a
on those questions, that's great, and that was going to be my next question. I'm going to stop it there only because it goes outside the scope here. But there will be some questions based on those things that we may take to other places. And I have to stress may.
Sure.
One of those things where I'm going to check to see if it's okay to ask and so forth. But that's really interesting. Here's my next question. Bob, go ahead. I want to talk over you.
Yep. I just like to know a little bit more about First Light. Who owns it? Are you a publicly quoted company? Where are you based? How many employees do you have? You say you've been around 3 years. Is it really longer than that?
Yeah, well, myself and Sean, I think, Sean, you were hired on just in the nick of time. I was an Oxford Networks employee for probably about 4 hours. My first day was actually the acquisition announcement when we became public and officially became First Light Fiber. And at that point, our majority shareholder was a company called Oak Hill Capital Partners. And they looked at all these little entities on the East Coast that they purchased as an asset to upgrade and sell. So we used to have a delivery platform called GPON, Gigabit Passive Optical Network, and it was an asynchronous product, much like your Spectrum, where you get a 20 down and a 5 up, like the connections are asynchronous. Now, First Light and Oak Hill Capital Partners went into all of our COs and all of our POPs and basically ripped out all that legacy gear and upgraded everything with Sienna and Cisco platforms. So that gave us active Ethernet delivery. So now our connections are synchronous. So if you get a 40 meg connection, it's 40 down and it's 40 up. And on this new network, there's a lot less latency on the back end, because it's what we call a MEF compatible network, Metro Ethernet Forum. There are certain protocols and provisions in place now where we don't need so much gear along the route. So there's a lot less routers. Our network has a lot less hops. So if your traffic is going from a location in Maine to another location in Maine, you're never going to traverse more than 2 of our core routers. And there's no other provider in the state that can say that. So that was what Oak Hill Capital Partners did. They beefed up the network, and then they sold us off. And an infrastructure company bought us, which that's a lot more comfortable for me. They're not investing. They're not looking to sell. Infrastructure is what they do.
I have to step away for a moment, guys. I'm just going to mute my mic.
Sure.
So CJ, to dovetail off CJ's point, so First Light started as a company called Tech Valley Communications back in 1999. Who was acquired by Riverside Partners back in 2010. First Light actually acquired, they were rebranded to First Light Fiber in 2013. And then in 2014, First Light acquired the assets of G4 Communications. 2016 is when First Light was acquired by Oak Hill Partners, is what CJ was just talking about. And we expanded ourselves further into New York. So, we're literally all the way from Fort Kent, Maine, all the way down to Buffalo, New York now. And then in 2017, you've probably heard of Oxford Networks. First Light acquired Oxford Networks in 2017. 2017 was a huge year for First Light. We also acquired SovereignNet Communications, Ion Communications, Finger Lakes Technology Group, which was a massive acquisition. They're a managed service provider in the Finger Lakes region, which is what gave us the Cisco VAR status. And then in 2018 is when Oak Hill was no longer, and First Light was acquired by Antin Infrastructure Partners. They're a company out of Belgium, and First Light's literally a tiny speck of their portfolio, and they work with tons of network and fiber companies. So they are a really good company to have our back, so to say. And I've never seen anything like them, where the hindsight, the build outs, the yes that we get from these guys. So, and then in 2019, First Light acquired Maine Fiber Company, which was the old 3-ring binder project that was laid out for all the schools and libraries maybe 15 years ago. So that this transaction added dense fiber network throughout the whole state into Canada, including the Maritime Express route from Nova Scotia landing to Boston. So we also purchased in 2019 a construction company called Todd Cable Construction. So now not only do we, lease out fiber, we can build out customer-owned fiber. The issue there is you'd have to maintain all that. So it takes, not many customers go that route unless they have the resources to be able to, fix it, maintain it. And also in 2019, we acquired Colo Space, which added 4 data centers to our portfolio. We have 16 now. The Colo Space was huge. Normally, you know, we have the cloud resources, but our customers kind of had to be somewhat savvy, you know, to migrate and what have you. But
Yeah,
now
they
we
have
have
to run
both
the show,
flavors.
basically. Yeah, we have a
Exactly.
managed.
Now we have both
yeah.
flavors.
So
So
not
you-
only can we provide you guys the infrastructure to do your own computing and run your own servers and all that, but for those people that don't have like an internal Windows IT guy, you know, now we can also manage that entire process for you guys and manage those servers for you. So
So
if you
if
can
I
think
can
of it,
recap
we
that
do
just
it.
a second, so be sure I understand. So your present situation is that you are a Belgian-owned subsidiary.
Majority, yes.
So the head office is in where? Brussels?
Belgium, I believe.
There's one in London and Belgium as well.
There's one in,
who do-
there's an
who do
office
you
in
guys-
New York
who do
too.
you- Who do you guys report to?
First Light.
And
First Light Fiber, who's our CEO, Kurt, and then he reports to the board
So where is Kurt based?
of Anton.
Sorry?
Kurt is based in, where is Kurt based, CJ?
He's in Albany, New York.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yep.
It's a little difficult to get our fingers around this, but the main point to me is that you now own the 3-ring binder.
That's correct. Yeah.
Someone bought Main Fiber. Is that fully
Yeah,
integrated into First Light, or is that still spun off as a separate entity?
It's
Fully
fully
integrated.
integrated.
So you
Yeah.
guys, basically First Light owns that fiber now then?
Yeah, the whole
Exactly.
office, I mean, is rebranded. I mean, right down to the lettering on the door. Yeah, and it has been for, I don't know, probably a year now, Sean, where it's been completely rebranded.
Yeah, I'd
So-
say right around there.
And CJ,
It was big for us.
You said your fiber runs right down Route 1.
Yeah, into Waldoboro. It goes down the old Route 1.
Okay, that's correct. It goes by our library. In fact, our library is hooked into the main schools and library
Oh, okay.
system.
Yeah,
So they're your customer, I believe.
that's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Old Route 1 until we cross over, you know, we go over the Jefferson Street. And then when you go a little bit further in the old Route 1 kind of dog legs right, we kind of follow up and hit the Atlantic Highway and head out of town that
Yeah,
way.
you come out at Moody's, the
Yeah.
restaurant there on the corner.
Mhm.
Yep.
You know, if you guys have a list of addresses that you could provide to Sean or myself, you know, we could map all this stuff out and figure out, you know, how much it's going to cost First Light to build. And then we can talk about what the needs might be at each location, you know, and think about phone service too. I mean, we have all different kinds of phone flavors, right down to supplying you the phone system. You know, our phone system is cloud-based, so it's nice about that is if, you know, it never fails because we have redundant phone systems. So if one goes down, there's another one that's backing it up. I mean, it's a great product. So
So the thing about acceptability, I mean, there's no question your technology is heads and shoulders above everything else out there. The problem has been the take rate. People don't like to pay a lot for their internet service. And, you know, forget about cable, people are streaming now. So that's really where the impetus is focusing. And I'd much rather be streaming with fiber than I would be with cable. Unfortunately, I don't have fiber running by my place.
yeah.
But people in the village basically do. And the take rate, correct me if I'm wrong, Richard, but I believe the take rate on that has been disappointing. Not in terms of the businesses, they've pretty much bought into it, but the residents find the pricing to be uncompetitive because they're basically competing with Spectrum.
That's
And
correct, Rob. Yeah.
I don't know how your pricing filters down through your cost structure to make it affordable or attractive to people who.
And to be honest, I don't know the fiber to the home pricing because CJ and I solely work the business sector.
It's
when we come,
really brand new. So it's something like, you know, we mentioned this other team, our carrier relations team. You know, we would get involved with them, and they would primarily be the ones that would talk to you guys about, you know, the individual homes and what that looks like and what that consists of, and, you know, would help you with the pricing model. And Sean and I mean, we would handle the A location. We, you know, if we needed to build into it, we would figure out the construction, we'd get the construction all figured out. And at that location, we would supply a large internet pipe, something that would be enough for all the places that you needed to distribute it to. And again, as I mentioned, if you need the gear to do all that distribution, that would be something that Sean and I would also handle. But I could see the next step in this process would be to, you know, get our carrier guys on here. I mean, they weren't available for tonight, unfortunately. They got a big project where they're all flying out late tomorrow to, I think, for a T-Mobile shindig or something like that. We're doing something big with a bunch of towers. But at a later date, we can get those guys together and, you know, help you guys figure out that pricing model, because you're absolutely right, Rob. If we were just to come into these homes, you know, we built our network not for the home necessarily. It's built for the big businesses that need, you know, WAN connectivity, fast WAN connectivity to other, you know, other branches that they have. So that's traditionally why we haven't been able to do home sales, because you're absolutely right. Our internet connections and pipes are geared towards business and to be as fast as businesses need. So the price kind of reflects the gear and the speed that we've built into the network. We can be a little bit pricey, I will be honest. But I think also with this particular model, working with our carrier team, we've been able to make it pretty attractive to some other entities. We even have, like, there's a mill in Biddeford, Maine that has like 14, 15 tenants, and they have their own networking guy and their own gear. We sell them a big fat pipe into the mill, and they just distribute it off, and they charge all their tenants a little bit, you know, to build up, and they're actually able to profit from that connectivity. So, you know, it can be a win-win. Not only can we provide some connectivity to these places that you need, but, you know, sometimes if it's done right, and we can get into these areas that are densely populated enough, there's enough wiggle room in there for the municipality to make a little money off of it.
Correct. And a lot of times they divvy it up if it's, you know, let's say it's not necessarily a power user and it's a retired couple that just checks email, you know, they'd probably need a couple meg, versus if it's an architect who's pushing out large CAD files, then they can get the premium. And, you know, you can maybe get them a 20 by 20. You'd have to have somebody on your end being able to work this gear and divvy that up. But we can, you know,
in the interest
talk more down the road.
In the interest of being honest, guys, just so you know, when we're talking speeds, I mean, people aren't going to be super concerned in the area with the amount of megabits they're getting. But when you talk about numbers like 20 by 20, people are going to be expecting in the hundreds and multi-gig for people that want to pay for that. So just to make sure your backbone is up to that.
I'm glad we're talking about this subject here, because this is one of the important points to mention here. You know, you guys are used to, say, a Spectrum connection that's 100 down and 10 up. Well, just for their switching and routing information, that traffic goes all the way to Rochester and then comes back up here to hit your site in Maine that you're looking to go to. Their network is incredibly slow on the backbone, so that's why they come in with this big 100 meg pipe. Our network's built different. I mean, when you hear that sales pitch, 100 by 5, that's the size of your garage door. And you really have to think about what's beyond the garage door. Like, once you drive outside, are you on a dirt road that's a single lane, or do you want to be on a 4-lane paved highway? I mean, it's a totally different animal. So when we say 10 meg to the house, 20 meg to the house, they can't tell the difference between that and a Spectrum 100 meg, you know?
Just to be clear, so my background is I work in healthcare. I'm an endpoint architect for Maine Health. And you're right, fiber is better than cable. On my cable connection that I pay $130 for, I have a 45 meg upload that I redline most of the time. And it's been fine. The download, yeah, I can't keep that gig lit all the time. They're 40 meg up in the area, though. They're doing a pretty good job with. I'm also not worried about people. I'm also not worried about people telling you guys that, hey, I want 10 gigs both ways. What I'm telling you is a 20 meg up, the people that have that in the area, and a lot of people that have it now for 50, 60 bucks, can redline that. So just, I get a little concerned when people pitch a 20 meg synchronous connection like it's a high-end technology when we're past that.
To be honest, completely transparent, in those cases, we're not the best bet. We're not the best bet because we're truly an enterprise business. So, but like CJ said, demand has been there for fiber to the homes, so we have pivoted to that area. But as far as pricing wise, you're probably dead on where we won't be able to compete in those situations. But
and I don't mean that to end the conversation.
In areas.
So is there a cost associated with this next thing when we get you addresses and look at that data, or is that just us continuing the conversation?
That's just continuing the conversation, guys. That's what we do every day for people.
Okay. So here's my next question for Robert Butler and for Richard Hossis. From here, do we agree that this is a good conversation to carry forward, or do we not see purpose in that? That's the next thing I want to know from the other two on the committee.
Richard?
I don't think that local people here would be interested in a necessarily high-speed network. and if you're not competitive in that area, I don't think we need to talk anymore. I think entry level wise, if somebody were comfortable with, right now I have 400, and I'm comfortable with that, but there may be a day that I need more. But the average person, I'm not sure, unless you're competitive, would be interested in the higher rates. Down the road, we know that's going to happen. I mean, another 20 years.
No worries, yeah. We'd probably be best bet in areas where you guys can't get cable or consolidated DSL type service, or then we could talk in those locations because there's no other options. Or
that's right.
You know, think of us more so on the business side of things, and you know, landlords. We also do managed wireless, Cisco Meraki cameras. I mean, there's a lot there, but not. I wouldn't pitch us as the lowest price service in town, because we probably won't be. So in those cases, I'd say you're absolutely right. We're not the best candidate.
You know, it might be worth. I apologize. I was just going to say it might be worth continuing the conversation with, you know, getting our carrier guys on here, because they are the ones that could speak to what the price could look like at the end user. You know, Sean and I, again, we just handled the big pipe side and the managed equipment side of it. That's pretty easy to speak to, but as far as like the distribution of that service and what it looks like to the home user and what they can expect, and they might even be able to speak to the experience, you know, because I think, you know, we've had a couple of models where these guys have, you know, been able to see this from start to end. So, you know, I feel it would be worth continuing the conversation, at least for one more round, with our carrier guys on here, because I'd like to think that they could speak to, you know, what the end user could expect, you know, cost associated. And I apologize, guys. This is not a refined thing. This is something new that First Light's doing. So, you know, I apologize. We don't have a lot of the answers that you're looking for. But one thing I can say is that Sean and I mean, we're pretty determined guys, and, you know, there's no cost in any of these conversations. So to get, you know, the other guys on the line, if you guys want to send us addresses where it might make sense, where a business class internet would be of value, like it, you know, some of your police stations or your fire stations or something like that, where they need some decent connectivity, feel free to provide those to us. You know, the worst case is that we can say, well, we need to get this much in services from you guys from a 3-year contract, and the worst thing you can tell us is, nope, sorry, First Light, that's a little bit out of our league, you know?
I'm glad you brought up the police station, CJ, because what we've been seeing a lot of is body cameras as a strategic planning and getting approval, and the internet connectivity just due to the videos and the cloud just has to.
Because they're uploading video to the cloud, so they need to have that good internet pipe.
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys have those body cameras in place, and if that's all working out, great. But we can help you on that type of stuff too. So, and I know that's not what this call is about. So.
Oh, it's a good example, and I get we're forging a new path here, and I don't think there's any. I like to ask direct questions. I don't have a problem with anything that CJ or Sean has said. I also value everyone's time here, and that's why I'm coming at you with some of those direct things.
Mhm.
For my part, I have no problem getting that additional data if the other guys in the committee also agree to that. This I don't drive the ship on my own. I think we work pretty well collaboratively.
Understood. Yeah.
I'll chime in here and just say I agree with Ruben. I think it's worth having at least one more meeting. I regard your situation as being somewhat unique. You've got this huge amount of fiber running right through the center of our village. And you've got one, maybe two customers. The school is using it and the library is using it. And as far as I know, that's it. And that is a terrible waste of a resource. It would be nice to figure out if we can find a way of lighting that thing up to make it more available to a more broader spectrum of people. And that's kind of the problem I would like to address with you folks, if there's a way of addressing it.
Thank you for that, Robert. Yeah, I agree. I would love to utilize a lot more of that fiber. I mean, typically we hit businesses, but this fiber to the home model that we've come up with, I mean, the gears are churning, and the two teams are kind of separate. So Sean and I are a little distant from the information right now because it is such a relatively new thing. But I mean, building fiber and providing connectivity, that's what we eat and breathe all the time. So I mean, once we do a few
if I was you guys, I would have a conversation with our carrier group, because it doesn't cost you anything, and they would have been better suited for this meeting than CJ and I. But like CJ said, they couldn't make it today. But I don't think you should rule it out yet.
Well, you guys have given us a lot.
Yes.
So, Bob or Richard, do you think this is a thing we need to vote on, or can we just say that we'll go ahead and continue this at the next once we get information?
You don't really need to vote.
Talking with them again.
Okay.
A vote doesn't really need to happen. This is just something that if you just want it to happen, then we can just schedule it to be part of the next meeting, or just during a future time whenever when we would have the carriers here.
Okay, great. I just wanted to make sure we followed policy. I didn't want to run afoul of any of the town rules. So I think we're okay with that. So if we could provide these folks with some address information and see where the next conversation goes.
And maybe talk a bit more about the thing conceptually. I mean, my dream is that the town has its own ISP and serves the municipality and brings prices down to a really reasonable level so that everybody in this town, no matter who they are, business or individual, can buy into it and support it financially. So it's not money that comes out of the general fund of the town. It's money that's supported by the subscribers.
Right. Absolutely.
That's what I feel is the ideal situation.
And that's the model that our team is trying to make work. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, we're a big town. We've got what, 90 plus miles of road, Max?
I'd have to get that figure, but it's quite a bit.
That's in the ballpark.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
It's a lot of roads.
Yeah.
And I guess one question, if I was to get that number by the next meeting, because this is something I was debating back and forth. Am I getting all public roads? Am I getting just the big state roads like 220, 235? Am I including private roads, or am I just doing public? What am I doing in terms of where we're looking to expand the cable or fiber. I'm sorry.
We could always start with a couple areas at a time. I would maybe pick 3 areas that you think, and CJ, correct me if I'm wrong, but you could pick a few areas that you think the infrastructure needs upgrading, where they can't get residential services, and kind of, where our fiber route goes.
Yeah,
so
the image, so they should know the route, so you guys can kind of pick off of there. Try to stay close to our fiber, because again, it costs us about $33,000 a mile. So the longer we have to extend, it becomes difficult for us to absorb those costs for you guys, and that's really what we like to do. We don't like to push those construction costs down on anybody. We like to just get the recoup in the services. Again, like mid-contract is like what we like to see.
Well,
so yeah.
I mean, if I'm just pitching out the area I'd see, it would, with the map you showed, I personally would like to see sort of a completed loop of the Kaler's Corner, Jefferson, Mill Street, and even that bit of Route 1. I would think that's probably the best way of completing sort of a loop in that area, maybe getting some good responses.
I agree,
But,
Max.
yeah.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
And
also, guys,
got a good mix
there's
of commercial and residential.
Right.
Yeah.
There's strategic ways to make this happen as well. So just for an example, if you have any business parks, we can literally have one anchor customer that needs our service as a business pay for an entire build for the residents. So, for example, there was a business park in South Portland. We had one customer that needed service, and it was a good amount of fiber and voice services, but it was a 36-month agreement that they were able to contract for, and we agreed to do the deal, and we only made our money back. It was like 30 months off of a 36-month agreement, with the hindsight that we were now going to be able to serve all these other businesses in the area. And so, yeah, we like to break even halfway through, but with, other driving factors, we'll accept a lot less margins in cases. So let's never rule out anything.
There probably were a handful of customers in that business park that, their services couldn't justify our build. But then that one entity that needs enough to justify the build, now we can approach all those other customers and give them the little services that they need, because we don't need to fund that build anymore. We had the big customer that paid for the whole thing.
And that's exactly right. All that they had was Spectrum, and now we're available. And I do believe we've taken over almost half the park. So, and then the other half that, they don't want to pay. They don't need the fiber. So,
yeah, gas stations,
anyway.
They don't need our type of connectivity. The mom and pop variety stores, they don't need our connectivity. The hospitals and the police stations and the municipalities and schools and, gosh, even churches now have a lot of the churches that were our customers have called because they're doing their services online and streaming all this stuff. So, those are the ones that they need to eat up enough of our services to fund the builds. So, think about that too when you're providing addresses, like the police station. That sounds like a great one. If there's a hospital or a health facility in the area, those are good ones. They're always uploading and transferring files and records and all that kind of stuff. And, if we can get that one nugget that justifies that build, then we can service that whole area. If it's just little pulls off of a big run that we've done. So that's a great point, Sean. That's a good way to think about moving this forward too.
It's refreshing.
I have a question that may not be exactly this, but have you dealt with regional systems? For example, this is a pretty small county here in Mid-Coast, Maine. Do you have any plans, or do you know about any regional plans where the towns would be themselves would each use a portion of the A location?
Yeah, we're talking to a few right now, like Hollowell, the town of Hollowell. They want to do a wireless system where, they're going to buy basically a big fat pipe at one of their taller buildings that are on Main Street, and they're going to point a couple of antennas, one south and one north, and then they're going to provide free wireless to, it's like a business area in the town. We've also done a project with the town of Freeport, the Freeport Mall, where the Nike outlet store is and the LL Bean employee store is. Kind of the same thing, we provide a nice substantial internet pipe there, and then that's just getting distributed wirelessly to the area. The wireless stuff's been pretty big for us because, now we own a Cisco shop, so we get great pricing on some very high-end equipment to provide good service. As far as like, Sean, what's the other town that we were just working?
Herman?
With yes, the town of Herman. Thank you. Same thing. They have a high school where that's already a lit building for us. We've already got connectivity there, so they're going to pick a little room and put a little rack in there, and we're going to, again, Sean and I are going to supply a big fat internet pipe, and our carrier guys, like I've got a sales guy that I've known from just being in the industry for 15 years that's jumped on board, and he'd probably be the guy that I would want to speak with you guys too, just because I've known him personally and professionally for a long period of time, and I know his reputation, I know how he handles customers. His professionalism is at a level where I think you guys would appreciate. So he'd be the guy that I'd also get involved to, our next conversation that I mentioned. I'd like to bring him into the table. He's like the Sean, the account executive on the carrier side. So he could be a good one to speak to the prices about what your home users could expect.
Absolutely. And back to the Herman real quick. Yeah, we don't, so we have permission from Jeff Wheeler to discuss. He's the director of IT for the school and town, and actually they've been wanting First Light Fiber for a few years, but there was an almost $300,000 build out to get it to where they needed it. So, in the old Oxford days, we couldn't justify that type of build. We wouldn't put that type of money out there, knowing it'll take, 30, 40 months to get it back. So anyways, they were using microwave service and pushing, they had a fat internet pipe from us, and they were wirelessly broadcasting it to the schools about a mile away until CJ and I were able to, get the executive team to buy into building out to Herman, which we did. It was I believe it was, I don't know how many miles it was, but it was close to $300,000 build out that we agreed on. The town of Herman, signed a long agreement, but all they have to do is pay the monthly service. So it's a win-win. And that's what Anton's doing. I'm looking at it like, how the heck are we staying in business, putting all that money out? But Anton knows what they're doing. Like I said, they own tons of fiber companies. That's what they do. So, so timing is good for build out. Put it that way.
Well, we're almost at the hour mark. I don't mind getting some spots and addresses ready for another meeting, just if this is something that the CTC wants to continue with, and then we can just carry on probably next month if this is what we want to do.
I don't see a reason not to. I think we should proceed.
I do too.
Yeah. And I would actually get that list over to us ahead of time, because it takes myself and Sean a little bit of time to, figure out the costing and all that stuff. And it would be nice to come to that meeting, with some answers for you guys, and, what we can do rather than just start looking at it then when we're on the phone. Like I'd like to spend some time looking at the addresses ahead of time so we can speak to them and provide you guys some information. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for taking time to talk to us. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. It was a pleasure to meet you guys. Absolutely.
Maybe do one of these in person someday.
Here's hoping.
Right.
Right.
One can only hope. That's right.
Be nice.
For sure.
Right.
Well, nice meeting you guys.
Yeah.
You as
Take
well.
care,
Thank
guys.
you again.
Yeah.
You're
Thank
very
you.
welcome.
You're
Have
welcome.
a great night, guys. All right.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Cool. Sean, feel free to hang around if you can still hear us. So, okay.
He's gone.
Finally found my my copy of the agenda. Max, thanks for doing that. So we determined a quorum. We already made adjustments. We're not streaming, so there are probably no citizens on YouTube that have any comments up to this point.
There are.
I haven't received any email everyone doesn't know about from our friends on the Chapel Road. I will, in the next couple of days, just send a ping out, just, checking on them, how you guys doing, no new information, that kind of thing.
The last thing I heard on Chapel was that CMP was going to start, they're doing a survey of the telephone poles.
Yep.
And did I interpret it correctly, Ruben, that they're actually going to start replacing the poles by the end of November, early December?
That was the last I understood. And I drove those roads because I was super curious. And if you drive those roads, you can actually see what they mark. They put stakes in the ground with bright orange sort of tape. And it's pretty easy to figure out what poles they're moving. A few I wasn't sure about, but most of them look pretty obvious as to why they're replacing them. So once I counted everything and looked at it, everything they said seemed reasonable. I know sometimes we'll get worried about, someone trying to pull a fast one, but it all looked like work that wasn't that hard to believe needed to be done.
Good.
And I think that's really at the same time, I think that covers the Chapel Road update. They've marked those poles. CMP is getting ready to do their work. So this next round is we're waiting on CMP to do the poles. And then once that's done, Charter can get in and extend their media.
Yeah, that's right.
So I know there will be some time in that, and I know we're all excited to see it get done. And I know those folks are frustrated, but we are getting closer. I don't know that we've been this close for that particular area. So that's pretty good.
I think we're a little bit ahead of schedule.
Hey,
I don't want to be too optimistic, but it sounds to me like they're moving forward fairly quickly, more quickly than we thought they would.
I will make no comment because I don't want to be overly optimistic either. But yeah, it's nice to see, I guess is all I'm really saying.
Yeah, at this point.
And then we've got Connect Maine planning grant.
Today I attended a Connect planning grant meeting, but it was really a discussion of definition of terms.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't stay on very long. I had company, and because it was way beyond me. It was like trying to define various entities within the agreement.
Okay.
That's what I saw today, my observation.
And I wasn't able to listen in because I got stuck with something else. So I did not attend either.
And I was in another building. So Richard, thanks for making the effort. You win in the group. You got the most done. Usually those things, they have meeting notes that go out. Max, did you happen to hear any of it?
No, I only just briefly looked into the grant, and it looks more like, well, it's the planning grant, so it's mostly just about if the town wants to hire someone to look at big regional things. So, if, like, for example, if we wanted to actually hire First Light to do a survey of the whole area, see how much it would be to do all this, and compensate them for that time, that is something that this grant would be used for. But it's not infrastructure, so I didn't see infrastructure, so I didn't pay too much mind to it.
I think I'm glad that we at least poked at it, but we've done the planning thing for what we need to get done. That was my interpretation.
Right.
There's just one thing I'm wondering and thinking about out loud here, and shoot me down if you don't like it, but these guys have brought up the prospect of bringing a full service network to town that the town could potentially own and operate, that is supported by subscriber payments. Is that something that a planning grant would be worth spending money on?
Seeing about the feasibility, yes, but again, I think the planning grant is going to be due November 20th. I don't think we have enough time to try and get all that put together.
We're all tied up with stuff. Yeah, no, I agree. Okay.
So
Well,
with that,
looks like we've completed your agenda, Richard.
Okay, you did good.
Yeah.
is there anything else anyone wants to go over at all?
When do we want to meet again?
Well, let's look at the old calendar. Not tomorrow, that's for sure.
No.
First Monday of December, I have the regular scheduled meeting, December 7th at 5:30 p.m.
Oh, okay. Good.
I'll be there. My schedule's open for that.
Yep.
All right.
I'll put it in
And I
my
will try
calendar.
And I will try to have minutes and everything relevant by that time. So we want to try and have First Light for that meeting as well with their carriers.
If they've had enough time. If they don't, I've got no problem giving them, more time to go over.
Okay.
I recognize November's got to be challenging. Half the month is holidays and everything else, it seems like.
It is.
Yeah, this week is, starting tomorrow, well, no, actually, today was pretty much setting up the entire office for the elections, and, the rest of the week is going to be elections, because tomorrow we're going to have the election day, and then Wednesday, maybe Thursday, we're going to be hand counting all the local items.
That's a lot of work. Thank you to everyone there for doing that work.
Yeah, that is a huge amount of work.
Yeah, it's a big pull.
We are very fortunate with the people who are very brave enough to continue doing the poll work and have offered to help with the hand counting of the ballots. Just for a matter of comparison, we have only done we have processed the absentee ballots. We have already surpassed what the July vote was.
Wow.
Like the total July vote, we've already beat that. We have not even started the election yet.
That's crazy.
So
That's wonderful. That's great news.
It's great. It means a lot of people are getting interested in voting, and I can only hope that it means we're going to get a very good, well, I shouldn't say a good turnout, but a moderate sized turnout. Nothing too huge at one time. And you know what I mean? We don't want 1,000 people in the town office at one moment in time. We want to have it spread out throughout the day.
Well, here's to that.
Yes.
Well, with that, I guess I'm looking for a motion to adjourn and a second. I wonder if there's anyone here that could do that.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Guys, it's always nice to see you. Someday you might actually see me. We'll talk to you later.
Have a good night.
All right.
You too.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.